locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
That's right, Jack, the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour. Welcome back to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast, the podcast about pro wrestling and everything else. I am your illustrious host, the Duke. And guess what, folks? Once again, I am all by myself. Okay, Eric Carmen. I know I'm making you a lot of money there. Folks are heading over to all the YouTube and the Spotify because when the Duke does all by myself. That's right, Jack. I sing it almost as good as you do, Eric. Shout out. Folks, all by myself again. The Boston bad boy. You know, I gave him some time off. Let's be honest here. I give him a hard time. He works hard. And I know that he gives all of you a hard time. You know, call our fans subhumans and all that nonsense. This guy claims he doesn't like pro wrestling. You know, the Boston bad boy, he claims he doesn't like pro wrestling, but every week he's always talking about pro wrestling. Figure that one out. He's proud to be a member of the Nation of African American Wrestlers. Figure that out. So I don't know. Boston bad boy, he's fronting out there, folks. Whatever. But listen, we got a great show on our hands here this week. Very special guest from Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Mr. Harry Burkett. You know, he's a former editor-in-chief. He's currently just a senior staff writer. I can't wait to talk to this guy, dig into his career, and talk about wrestling magazines and the history of that and how the internet has changed, how that's gone. Especially for you younger fans, you know, you're going to learn something pretty interesting with that interview there. We'll also go over the top stories in the world of professional wrestling. Now, we normally know that as Run the Ropes, but listen, folks, I'm just going to make that random thoughts there. I'm going to throw a bunch of good stuff out there. You're going to enjoy it. All of that, plus give a little blast from the not-too-distant past there, folks. We'll wrap things up with the Duke of Dorchester, Mr. Pete Doherty, who'll send us out on the right way. But before we get to any of that stuff, listen, I got to tell you right now, folks, there's a punk. There's a punk out there by the name of Babam, okay? And he has challenged me, the man of the hour, the Duke, the highlight of the night, the special delight, okay? Richard and German chocolate cake, how much more can you take? He has challenged me to a video game tournament known as, get this, because we have SummerSlam coming up, okay? Because we have SummerSlam coming up, he has challenged me to GamerSlam. And I'm going to tell you right now, Babam, I'm going to take that X-Bit Gaming Facebook Championship from you. I'm going to wear it everywhere. I'm going to celebrate all over the place. That's what I do. Folks, you're going to have to tune in the night before SummerSlam. It's going to be on. We're going to be live streaming our matchup. It's best 2 out of 3. We're going to be playing 3 different games. It's going to be a hell of a time there, folks. And you know, after WrestleGamia, this whole thing with SummerSlam is going to be something else here. Okay, GamerSlam is what this is called. But I'm telling you right now, and a lot of you folks are video game fans. If you head over to X-Bit Gaming on Facebook, okay, they are the #1 retro gaming site on Facebook. They stream live at least 4 hours a day, every single day. It's unbelievable. If you like what you see, you can donate stars. So they have an exclusive deal with Facebook where you can donate stars, cheer them on, and what have you. Great site. And more importantly, you get to go over there and check out my nemesis, one of many, Babam. You can watch him lose at playing video games because he's pretty terrible, folks. This guy is the worst gamer in the history of gaming. Okay, not only on planet Earth, but planet Earth. Earth with an F. Okay, this guy's terrible. So go over to that page there, X-Bit Gaming on Facebook. Check out how terrible Babam is, and let him know Duke's coming for him, Jack. Because let me tell you something. This guy doesn't respect the fans. but the Duke does, okay? The Duke loves you all with all my heart, okay? But Bomb, he's a pretender. He doesn't like you. He can't stand you. He loathes you. And I'm going to expose him for the punk that he is. And I'm going to take that X-Bit Gaming Championship, okay? I'm going to do it at Summer Game Year. You better believe it, Jack. So stay tuned, folks, because in a moment, I'm going to go over some not-so-random thoughts that include the top stories in the world of professional wrestling. It's time to talk about the top stories in the world of professional wrestling, a.k.a. Run the Ropes. And as I told you last week, folks, my good friend Vincent Kennedy McMahon, he said, Duke, get rid of the bell, okay? Can you give the bell a rest for a couple of weeks? So yes, my good friend Vince, because you're always so good to me, I'm going to give the bell a rest. I'm by myself here. I don't have the Boston Bad Boy that I can bounce off of and educate. So instead, I'm going to make it a little more loose this week, folks. We're just going to talk. Okay, we're going to talk about the top stories. And we're going to start off with something interesting here. I'm going to tell you right now, Brock Lesnar, what is going on with this guy? Okay? This guy has not defended his title in a while. And at this point, they're playing this little nonsense here where they're saying that Brock is not fulfilling his contractual obligations. Now listen, folks. The Duke has spent a lot of time in management, okay? I have been in some form of management since I was in my preteen years, okay? I've always been in leadership positions. That's right, the Duke. I'm giving you a peek behind the curtain here, folks. And I'm going to tell you right now, Brock Lesnar, you better get your act together, okay? If you cannot defend that championship, the Universal Championship, the most prestigious championship on the planet, if you cannot fulfill your contractual obligations and defend that championship on a more regular basis, then get the hell out of the way, Brock Lesnar. And I would tell you that to your face, Jack. I'm not afraid of you, Brock. Okay? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little sick of you. You need to get it together. Suplex City, I'm not even a fan of that anymore. Okay? I will call my friend Oscar to straighten you out because I'm not afraid of you, Brock. DC Daniel Cormier would wipe the UFC mat with you, just so you know. You're really not that bad. You're just a guy who's a big body of mass. You're like a big grizzly bear. You lay on somebody and try to smother them. Daniel Cormier would waste you, Jack. Okay? You can take that to the bank. Dan Severn, the legend, the UFC legend, a good friend of mine, he would waste you, Brock. It's time for you to cut the crap. Defend that Universal Championship or vacate it, get out of the way so somebody else can bring some prestige to that title, because I'm telling you right now, I don't like what you're doing, Brock. I just don't. And again, I'm not afraid of you. Raw's going to be in Boston in a couple weeks. I'm going to be there. If you got something to say, you can come talk to me about it. I know you're bigger than me. I know you could destroy me, but that's not the point. I'll tell you to your face and then take a butt whooping from you, pal. I'm not going to play games with you, Brock. The jig is up. It's over. Defend that championship. Cut the crap. The Duke is talking to you. Okay? That's it. It's over. You got guys like Samoa Joe. Punks like Roman Reigns. Finn Balor. Kevin Owens. You got guys out there busting their butts out there who are deserving. These are guys that deserve title shots. They could beat you. You're really not that good anymore. Kind of slower. A little sloppier. Drinking too much beer, hanging out on that farm of yours with your pretty wife. I don't know what's going on, pal. I'm just telling you right now. You're wasting our time, Brock Lesnar. You are wasting our time. You want to go back to UFC and get embarrassed? Go ahead. See you later. But that Universal Championship, do the right thing. Put it up on the line. Enough is enough, Brock Lesnar. I'm talking to you. Look at me. I'm talking to you, Brock. Enough is enough. The Duke is talking. That's right. Moving on, folks. Rich Swann, the former CWC champion in the WWE. Rich Swann, he's with Impact Wrestling now. You know, he had that incident where he was let go from the WWE because he had a domestic violence incident with his wife The lady known as Su Yung, she's in Impact Wrestling as well. Look, couples fight. We know that. We know couples fight. But just based on some of the information that came out of that incident, it was clear that this was a little bit more than that. Su Yung allegedly expressed genuine fear for her safety, which is pretty terrible. And that's why the WWE had to cut ways with Rich Swann. They're still together. It is what it is. Impact Wrestling is a new start for this guy. You know, they've done that for a lot of other folks. I will say this to Rich Swann. You will not get another shot, Rich. This is it. Okay? And I'll say another thing. Counseling. It's not a bad idea. Domestic violence is literally one of the most common, if not the most common crime in America and probably the world. Serious business here. We cannot have people who are out here presenting themselves as stars busting up their significant other. I'm not saying that you did that, Rich Swann. Don't take me the wrong way here. But I'm just saying there were allegations. I'm just saying that you lost your job because of those allegations. I'm saying that you're getting another shot here in Impact Wrestling. I'm saying that you need to clean up your act. You need to think about what comes next. I'm saying that the partying and the foolishness, it needs to end. Okay? This is your last chance too, Rich Swann. Come on. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. And look, man, I will cheer you to the moon because I like to see a redemption story. But I'm not going to put up with somebody who is an abuser. If that's a one-time thing, if that's something that may have happened and you guys are fixing it, that's fine. But honestly, get it together, please. Okay? That's right. Moving on again, folks. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. I watched the WWE UK tournament. Those 2 nights, they were unbelievable. 2 days, I should say, because it was 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the East Coast of lovely United States of America, although it was a little later in the UK there. But I'll tell you, folks, Toni Storm, she's awesome. She's a star. I was very happy to see Velveteen Dream. I was happy to see Aleister Black. EC3, I could take a leave. Ricochet, he's still a punk. You know, Ricochet hates my guts, but that's okay. I was happy to see them all on that card because they added something to it, which I was impressed with that. But make no mistake about it, the bruiserweight, Pete Dunne, the guy with a face only a mother could love. This guy, oh my goodness. He's a star. I mean, look, this guy could be WWE champion. He could be Universal champion. He could be every champion that ever existed. He could be the new Lance Storm where he just has a bunch of belts. Great Muta, he just has a bunch of belts and that's it because the man delivers. Pete Dunne is awesome. And he's not the biggest guy on the planet, but he is tough as nails, brother. And I dare you to put somebody up against him other than maybe Asuka, who's any tougher. Pete Dunne is the real effing deal. Pardon my French. Okay? So I was very impressed to see that UK tournament. He defended his UK championship. Pete Dunne, he's a great guy. Gets the job done. I'm very impressed with him. And it'll be interesting. You know, the WWE is launching that UK division in earnest, which is interesting. They don't have much competition over there. So, I mean, yeah, you have Progress Wrestling, but that's really a different product altogether. I know Chaotic, some of these other folks out there, they're different products. WWE is going to do very well over there. Johnny Saint as the general manager and what have you, they're going to do pretty well over in the UK. And I think that's great. I think that the top performers all over the world, they should get with the big company, make their money, make their mark, and when it's time, they can go back and rebuild the wrestling business in their respected areas there. I mean, that's really the way to do it. That's how it's always been done. It's the way it should be done. So, again, the UK tournament, if you haven't checked it out, head over to the WWE Network. UK tournament 2018, worth the price of admission. Trust me. Awesome. Awesome tournament. Awesome finals on the second day. Shayna Baszler and Toni Storm. I mean, just beautiful stuff here. Beautiful. So, on to the next topic here. You know, folks, I got to tell you, I continue to monitor this John Cena Nikki Bella saga, which, it's playing out on Total Divas, and I still stand by my guns, and I know I pissed a lot of people off by saying this, but John Cena 100% is justified in everything that he's done. Okay? The man said he didn't want to have kids. He relented on getting married. He said, fine, I will marry you. I don't want to have kids. And a guy that makes a lady sign like nearly a 100-page document just to live in his house, that's not a guy who plays games. That's a very well thought out individual. So for Nikki Bella to change her mind and spring this on him and try to make it seem like he's the bad guy, well, she's completely out of line. She needs to cut the crap. And I understand that she has that Birdie B with her sister and they're doing their thing. I wish you nothing but success, Bella twins. Your mom is awesome. She's my favorite. So I wish you success because you have an awesome mom. But I got to tell you, overall, folks, I'm just not impressed with how Nikki has handled this whole relationship with John Cena and how it's played out on social media and on Total Bellas, how it's going to play out on Total Divas. Some of you folks out there are going to say, well, what does it matter, Duke? This is their relationship, Duke. What does it matter? Well, hey, they put it on TV, so I'm going to talk about it. Okay? That's why it matters. They put it on TV. And Nikki Bella's wrong. And John Cena's right. And me agreeing with John Cena is a big deal. If anyone who's been listening to this show for over 2 years now, you know I can't stand the guy half the time. But he's right. I met his father, so now I got a soft spot for Johnny. That's right. So, continue to watch Total Bellas. It's a good show. It's compelling. Daniel Bryan has his little part in there too, which is interesting. I enjoy that show. I really do. And I enjoy watching John Cena set the record straight, and because he's not the bad guy in this situation. Relationships, they are built up, they fail, they get rebuilt. Maybe people separate, whatever. But John Cena has done the right thing. He's been transparent, and that's all you can ask for. I just want to see him back in the ring, though, because he's had a little bit too much time off. I know he's filming other things. He's getting out of wrestling slowly but surely. But John, it's time to make a comeback. Come back to the wrestling business here and get beat up by Kevin Owens again. We'd appreciate that. Thank you. Bye-bye. Next up. Did I mention Velveteen Dream is awesome? I just want to point that out. Velveteen Dream is the future of the company. Future of the business. No two ways about that. He's awesome. That's right. Now, folks, I got to tell you, there's a story that Shinsuke Nakamura, my guy, Shinsuke, the king of strong style, he was at a WWE live event and he was bitten by a police dog. Now, mind you, it's not as if Shinsuke was doing anything illegal. It's not like they were searching for Shinsuke and they were trying to take him out or something like that. Just pure nonsense, pure bad luck, whatever. But poor Shinsuke, he gets injured. The poor guy, he wasn't able to wrestle the other night on SmackDown Live, which is pretty terrible. So, I just want to send my best wishes, my get well wishes to Shinsuke. He's a good guy. I really feel bad for what happened to him. Here's a guy that really should be the WWE champion at this point. His feud with AJ Styles has been fantastic. There's got to be a payoff. I think the fans are into Shinsuke. They would like to see a Shinsuke Nakamura championship reign. I think that would be perfect. But, Jesus, you got a dog taking a bite out of you, the poor guy. Ugh. Get well, Nakamura. Please, get well. Do some surfing. Make sure you patch up that wound pretty well there. But do some surfing. Get your mind off of that. And I hope he sues the daylights out of that venue, that city, the officer. I hope he sues everybody. Because that is just ridiculous that a WWE performer gets bitten by a dog that is supposed to serve and protect with his partner, the officer there. I don't even know how that happens. Okay? That's supposed to be security, especially for the wrestlers, because, these fans can get a little overzealous. And here you are biting the performer. What? Are you kidding me? What's going on? Jeez. So, get well, Shinsuke Nakamura. We're pulling for you, brother. That's right. Got another interesting deal going on there, and let me tell you something. It winds me up a little bit, folks. This punk, okay? This punk Bayley, she had the audacity to put hands on Sasha Banks. And let me tell you something, Bayley, okay? I never liked you. I never liked you, Bayley. You with your weirdo hugging thing, you invading people's personal space and all that stuff. I never liked you, Bayley. And I knew that you were jealous of Sasha. I knew that you really weren't that good of a friend. But I gave you a pass because Sasha gave you a pass. But the moment you put your hands on the boss, the moment you put your hands on the boss and you slammed her through those stairs and you did that kind of nonsense, that was the moment where you signed your ticket. I'm through with you, Bayley. You are no good. You're poison. That girl is poison. That you're poison, Bayley. Okay? Got nothing to do with you anymore. I'm done. I hope Sasha Banks treats you the way Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen treated Sting when they kicked him out of the Horsemen. Okay? I hope Sasha slaps you up and tells you, smarten up! Get out of this business! Get rid of the contract! Get out of my life! That's what you need to do, Bayley. Okay? You're finished. You're finished in this town. The moment you assaulted Sasha Banks, you made it clear you're finished in this town. And don't think for 1 second you're not going to get a receipt. Sasha's coming for you, Jack. And I can't wait to see it. Okay? That foolish ponytail and your fake nonsense and your really creepy huggy business. You don't just run around hugging people. You got to ask permission. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? You're an adult. Stop it. Goodness. Number one story in the world of professional wrestling, once again, is my good friend, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. WWE made it official to their investors, including myself, that they signed the deal with Fox and USA. So once again, with over $2 billion for Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown Live is going to be on Fox, not Fox News, but official Fox stations there, folks. While Raw will stay on USA. Vince made a lot of money for himself and we investors, which is fantastic. I love it. It's awesome. I hear there's going to be further collaborations with Fox as well, cross-branding. They're going to be doing some other things with WWE superstars, finding exciting ways to feature them. USA, you dropped the ball. And that's what you get, okay? You do not take my friend Vincent Kennedy McMahon for granted. He's a good man. Knows what he's doing. Survivor. Took on Eric Bischoff and destroyed him. Took on every challenger, and he's the last man standing. He bought his competition. ECW and WCW and all that. He bought his competition. So for you to come in here and think you're going to take them for granted, good luck. How did that work out for you there, pal? Huh? How? I'm talking to you. How? Didn't work out for you. You know why? Because my good friend Vincent Kennedy McMahon is a genius. He's worth over $2 billion. You don't get that way unless you know what you're doing. Facts. What's that? The facts? Yeah, they are. That's right. And that does it for Run the Ropes, folks. Listen. Head over to Facebook. Head over to Twitter. Type in Duke Loves Wrestling. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm a jerk? There's maybe something in between. It's okay. I don't mind. Let me know, okay? We have a lot of photos up. In fact, we have the spread. Shout out to Charlotte Flair. She made it to ESPN, the Body Magazine edition there. 10-year anniversary of that. Charlotte Flair, tastefully in her birthday suit. Of course, it's implied nudity. There's a lot of stuff covered up. But just some awesome photos. We posted it on the Duke Loves Wrestling Facebook page, so you can check it out. Very proud of you, Charlotte. And Ric Flair, I know he's a proud father. He's been sharing every major photo from that shoot, which is awesome just to see, the dad supporting his daughter there. It's pretty cool. So, shout out to Charlotte there. She's the queen. Still pissed off at Bayley over this Sasha thing, but I'm going to get over it. I'm going to try at least. That's right. Folks, up next, We have a legend, a person who the who's who in the pro wrestling industry pays homage to. Okay? We're talking about the former editor of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. He's now a senior writer, Harry Burkett. We'll be right back.
This is former WWE superstar Al Snow and magician to the blind. You're listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.
Folks, you know I'm always talking about my love for pro wrestling and how this goes back literally my entire life. I mean, my very first memory of being alive is watching Ric Flair win the National Wrestling Alliance Championship from Harley Race at Starrcade there in the cage match. That was 83. I wasn't even a year old, but yet I still remember that match vividly, even to this day. One of the things that was so important, especially in the 80s, was the wrestling magazines, okay? Because keep in mind, cable was still pretty new. That was a new frontier, and it's not like we had the internet where we could catch everything at the tips of our fingers there, where we could find matches all over the world. No. We had to read the newspapers, and more importantly, we had to pick up the wrestling magazines, okay? And this week, our special guest is a guy who is responsible for feeding that hunger during a period of time where consuming wrestling product wasn't as easy as it is today. All right? I'm talking about the man, the myth, the legend, a guy from Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Say hello to Mr. Harry Burkett. How are you, Harry?
I'm doing great. It's a thrill to be on Duke Loves Rasslin.
Well, thank you very much, sir. And let me tell you something. There are some things when I started this podcast, some bucket list items. My guy Earl from Soli's Vintage Wrestling, he was on that list, and you, absolutely, Harry Burkett was on that list as well. So it really is a pleasure to have you on the show. Harry, from
same line. Every the first Tuesday of each month, getting Inside Wrestling and the Wrestler. The last Thursday of each month, or last Tuesday, getting PWI.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's funny too, Harry, because here we are in 2018, and there are so many fans that don't have a clue about how huge the wrestling magazine scene and how important the wrestling magazine was to continuing to educate fans on what's going on all over the world. Explain to us from your perspective, as a guy who is a managing editor and senior staff writer, what have you, at Pro Wrestling Illustrated. From your perspective, what is Pro Wrestling Illustrated in that whole line of magazines, and what was its significance?
Well, I think it still serves the same function today. I feel it holds the wrestling industry together. That's the way I saw it, growing up. And I was a bigger fan of the magazines than wrestling itself.
Wow.
I think I thought of myself as an aspiring editor or writer, so that's why PWI really appealed to me. But that was the one place to take the ratings page. You could get the top 10 wrestlers in the world, top 10 tag teams in the world, NWA, AWA, WWF, and all the territories. And most popular, most hated, represented. Same thing with the PWI Awards and later the PWI 500. It's an institution pulled all of wrestling together. I watched the WWF, you are going to hear NWA news and vice versa. That stands true today. Yes, you have the internet, but PWI is unique. That's the one place within the 70 pages you see 2 months of the wrestling world encapsulated.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And it's interesting that you say that because, again, I when I think of the past, I always make sure that I keep in mind what's going on today. Today's fan doesn't really understand the fact that we had more of an alternative than just WWE back then. Like you said, you covered the AWA and the NWA, later WCW. these were legitimate competitors to the World Wrestling Federation, what we know as the WWE today. So we could pick up one of your magazines there, and we could see Ric Flair on top over in the NWA. We could see Nick Bockwinkel or Rick Martel on top over the AWA. We could see Hulk Hogan on top over in the WWF. It legitimately, you guys covered everything for us.
That's right, and of course back then, you still had a few wrestling newsletters like Wrestling Observer, had just gotten started, but the magazines were the only thing that were present everywhere. You could go to a 7-Eleven, you could go to a Safeway grocery store. Pretty much like today, if you walk into any Walmart, there's a PWI, fortunately. It was your one-stop shopping, but one thing I'm sure you'll remember, the plethora of wrestling titles back then. Our company produced at least, I would say, 8, 9, or even 10 titles if you count the quarterly magazines back then. You had Georgia Politiano's various magazines, and Wrestling World was a good magazine. So if you went to a newsstand, into a good one, it was not, I'd say in the 80s, not strange to see 7 different titles. And the same was true of the late 90s.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And I know that even later on, when WOW came out with the glossy pages and what have you, they were trying to reestablish that concept, because you always were going to have your Pro Wrestling Illustrated, you're always going to have the Wrestler, and your different series that you have, the weekly title that you guys put out there. But then you had your PWI 500, your Wrestling Almanac, your year-end awards, and all these cool things that you guys were producing that legitimately, as a fan, we would wait just to get that. That was such a big deal, and to have that magazine and share it with your friends and bring it to school or bring it to your cousin's house. I mean, it was literally necessary to have one of your magazines while you were watching the storylines develop on TV. They went hand in hand.
And the funny thing is, some big breaking wrestling news I didn't really recognize as having happened until I read it in PWI. Like, for example, when Kerry Von Erich won the NWA title from Ric Flair, well, I just heard a mention of that championship wrestling, like only Anderson just happened to say, oh, by the way, Kerry won the NWA title last week down at Texas from Ric Flair. Well, I was going to have to, hold it for about 5 more weeks, or 6 more weeks, until the actual magazine came out. So I could see it legitimately covered by PWI, Kerry at the top of the rankings, and that sort of thing.
Wow. And what a special moment that was there. Like you said, when the Kerry Von Erich, I mean, geez, he was the king of Texas, basically, from that famous Von Erich family. And when he took on the greatest wrestler on the planet, Ric Flair, and beat him for that NWA championship, yeah, that was a huge moment in pro wrestling lore. But again, like you said, until it was in the PWI where you got to see the photos and read about what happened, I mean, that's really the icing on the cake. That made it legitimate. That made it real, especially for those who may not have seen the match yet. Because keep in mind, I mean, that was during the time where we were just starting to do tape trading.
Right, and I think we've hit on something here, something that made PWI unique. And you may remember the specific Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It might have been the October 1984 issue, where it's a portrait picture of Kerry Von Erich with the NWA title belt on the cover.
Absolutely.
Kerry Von Erich's 3 weeks on top of the world. And I do remember that feature story really drew together the whole story of him winning the title at Dallas. And then 3 weeks later, he lost in Yokosuka, Japan, I believe, to Ric Flair. And all those great pictures of Flair, with all those Japanese trophies regaining the title. And PWI was the only place, or other wrestling
Absolutely, absolutely. And shout out to our mutual friend, Scotty Richardson over there at Wrestler Weekly. He continues to post a lot of those old magazine covers and continues to talk about a lot of those moments and what have you, which keeps it alive. It reminds folks that PWI is still around and allows older fans like myself to relive some of those good old days when we would go to the newsstand and we couldn't wait to pick up those magazines and see what was going on in the world. What made you guys decide to start doing the PWI 500? Because that was really an interesting concept that took the wrestling magazine concept to the next level.
Right. I believe the 500 started in 1991, and it was the idea of one of our associate editors. Now, this is before I came on the scene in 1997, but one of the associate editors, his name was Bob Smith. And he had written for other wrestling magazines prior to PWI, which was fairly unusual. Usually, PWI staff writers and editors were New York through and through, and most of their experience was not through wrestling journalism. It was just basic journalism, going to, journalism school or working at Newsday, things like that. Bob Smith was also a wrestling fan, and I believe he just came up with the concept, hey, why don't we come up with a list of the 500 top wrestlers in the world? And I think in the early going, he did a lot of that single-handedly. Now, back then, the bios weren't quite as comprehensive. It might have been like 3 or 4 lines for each one, but 500 of anything is a massive undertaking.
Sure.
And I gained momentum. Brady Mankiewicz, who worked there for years after Bob Smith left, she was the person who spearheaded putting the 500 together. My experience with the 500 mainly was from the late 90s through the mid 2000s, like 2006. I wrote a lot of the bios. I remember spending many summers, June, July, 2 months, working at home actually on the 500. And I remember, boy, I missed another summer. But it's going on, and in some circles, it's even surpassed the awards issue each year, the Wrestler of the Year, and that sort of thing. It has really caught on to the point that we now have the PWI Female 50, and we're always debating whether we should make that the PWI Female 100.
Yeah, I think at this point there's enough talent worldwide, and fans are being exposed enough to the talent worldwide that you absolutely could do a female 100, and it would be fruitful. It would be something that the fans would enjoy, and even to this day, the PWI 500, as you said, it's huge, even bigger than the awards edition. We had a guy by the name of the Progressive Liberal, Daniel Richards. Here's a guy who's been on our podcast a couple of times, and let me tell you something. He was ranked close to 500, and that was a big deal for him. Just to be ranked, period. Just to be acknowledged by Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And this is a guy who just started wrestling within less than 10 years. I mean, he's been wrestling probably about 6-7 years, but being featured in PWI is still a big deal to these indie wrestlers out there.
Well, you may remember that the 500 spot traditionally was what you would call a joke spot.
Sure.
It went to someone, the Garbage Man, or Zeus, or Donnie Allen. But nowadays, or Chip Fairway, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
But nowadays, 500, we won't waste that on a joke wrestler. Somebody needs that 500 spot. I suppose, we could do a PWI 1000 if we really wanted to. But if you make the 500, if you make 498, 499, that's a real accomplishment. That is no joke.
Sure, and you've had wrestlers who actually have built storylines on that. You were ranked higher than me in the PWI, and they're fighting on the indie scene over that to see who really is better than the other. So it's interesting, and it's still an endearing memory for all of us when we see that issue come out, which brings me to the point where I got a problem with you and your colleagues there, Harry, and I have to bring it up. you guys had the audacity to take a guy who is nothing but an overstuffed, nothing happening punk from the gym, as Ric Flair would say about Sting back in the day. I redubbed that for this punk Roman Reigns. A couple years ago, you named him the number one wrestler in the world. And Harry, I was pretty beside myself, so much so that I immediately jumped on Twitter and let you guys at PWI have a piece of my mind over that. So please tell me you had nothing to do with that decision.
I had a vote. I think I did vote for Roman Reigns that year.
Oh.
I also did a column for that issue defending the pick, but acknowledging that the Roman Reigns type of wrestler era may be over. Mainly what I was saying was, considering his accomplishments for that year, the fact that he was pushed so hard, and yes, because he had Vince McMahon's backing, he legitimately deserved to be number one. But I did have a caveat that this may be the last time that happens in the rankings, that the fans have so much more control for each passing year that Roman Reigns will find it hard to get traction and be presented as a number one star. I believe the headline on the cover read something like, half of you won't like this.
Sure.
You were part of that half.
Sure. I was leading that charge as part of that half. And it's funny because, and this is something that I'm not sure even if you're familiar with, Harry, that ranking has been so important to not just the wrestlers but the fans. Taking the jest out of it, being serious. I'll give you a prime example. You guys legitimized yourself the moment you made Dean Malenko number one. And I'll never forget that issue.
Well, that was the 1997 PWI 500.
Yes, sir.
And I remember the deliberations quite well. I was working in the office at that time in Ambler, Pennsylvania, where they were located. And the problem with 1997 was there was some sort of issue with all the top stars at the time. Steve Austin, and there was an excuse not to, either they missed half the year. It was injury prone also, Bret Hart. So we relied on one of those other prerequisite attributes of the number one winner, number one spot, which is inherent ability. Here we emphasized Malenko's inherent ability, and he was the United States champion that year.
Sure.
Which was considered a deal. So that was the reasoning behind the Malenko choice. And of course, I think a lot of people say we legitimized the 500 even further last year with the pick of Okada.
Absolutely.
First time wrestler for one, probably overdue.
Absolutely. And I'm not the biggest Okada fan personally. I was always a Shinsuke and an Ibushi guy, but I can't take away from the fact that Okada's been putting on some of the best wrestling the past 4 or 5 years. That his string has been as good as anybody in history. So yeah, absolutely. And even AJ Styles. There are moments in the PWI 500 where it's like, yep, these guys still are on the ball. They know what they're doing there. They know what they're talking about. Absolutely. And then you throw a Roman Reigns in there, and it's just like, come on, who made that decision? But it's interesting because that's the point. No matter who's number one, it evokes emotion. People they care, which is the whole point, right?
Yeah, you think of those breakthrough moments, and you just mentioned AJ Styles. Real breakthrough for AJ was becoming the first TNA wrestler to be ranked number one.
Sure.
We broke something there.
Sure.
And when you repeat or three-peat is also a big deal now.
Yep. It's interesting. And again, folks, we're talking about a magazine, okay? We're not talking about your favorite internet website or what have you. We're literally talking about you go into your local drugstore or bookstore, what have you, and you pick up a magazine, and this thing still carries that much significance, especially the top 500 ranked pro wrestlers in the world. It's pretty awesome. If you could think back to controversial moments, what are some moments that stick out for you that you got the most heat, you got the most calls from people, especially people in the industry saying, "Hey, what's going on here, Harry?"
Interestingly, we are so deliberative about making these sorts of decisions. Like when we choose the 500, we have such a very good panel of people. You have Dan Murphy and Al Castle, senior writers, and Kevin MacLeod, Brady Hicks, Mike Bessler. And it's really a genuine roundtable. I've often said we should just leave the tape recorder running, run the deliberations. So every decision is very carefully thought out. And Stu Sachs, our publisher and editor-in-chief, he questions everything from every angle. Trying to think of a controversy. To be completely honest, the most controversy we get is when we misidentify someone in the magazine.
Ooh.
I remember we had a picture of the Bruiser, but we called him Crusher. It gets the most genuine response.
Wow.
When you have just a basic error in identification or a flagrant misspelling. It's really that kind of thing.
That's interesting. That's of all the things. That's it's not because you ranked Ric Flair number 3 in the PWI 500 and you had somebody else ahead of him. It's literally that. Wow. That's funny. That's funny. Hey, what sort of influence did Bill Apter have on you and your career at PWI? Because Bill was one of the founders of the magazine, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, the magazines were started by Stanley Weston in the mid to late 1950s. He started a magazine called Wrestling Illustrated Boxing News. It was a kind of combo, wrestling and boxing together. And published other magazines in the 60s, Wrestling Review, Wrestling Illustrated, 60s. In late 60s, 66, there was Inside Wrestling came along. 66 was The Wrestler, 68 was Inside Wrestling. And after started working for the 1970, and he's been a lifelong wrestling fan. What a lot of people don't know about Bill, he has a very gregarious personality. People don't get that from, you'll see the 80s interview segments where he would be on Superstation, PBS. He'd be at the interview segment of World Championship Wrestling, I think it was called, and he would interview Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair, and he seemed very staid, sitting in the chair with a sports jacket on. But he has a heck of a personality. And you have to be that kind of person to be on TV like that.
Sure.
So, believably, that was part of the attraction for me to write for the magazine, but not that I read the magazines religiously, was senior editor Bill Apter on television. That's really important stuff. And the first time I met Bill, a month after I started writing for the magazine, it was my first visit to the office in England, Pennsylvania. And I'm like, oh boy, I'm going to meet all these people I've read about all these years. Stu Sachs and Matt Brock. Maybe I'll meet Matt Brock. I want to meet him. And I remember going to the restroom, and Bill's in the restroom with me. And very friendly. He said, hi, I'm Bill Apter. I understand that you just come aboard with the magazine. I'm glad you were able to visit today. I said, yeah, it's a real thrill for me. And we're washing our hands at the sink. And there was one of those electric hand dryers on the wall. He said, Harry, do me a favor. Just take the back of my head
Ah.
And I guess as far as the magazine, his main strengths were he was the face of the magazine. He was definitely public relations. And in the kayfabe days, he had personal relationships with all the top stars. Bill Apter's sex was invaluable. You know, it wasn't strange. You know, when I started working there in 1997 for Hulk Hogan to call him, or Eric Bischoff, Jerry Lawler, they all knew Bill. Bill was the conduit because he was the face. He was the one at the arenas. Now, the writers, people didn't know us because we went to the arenas. If we did a phone interview, it was over the phone. The stories, it was the photographers that people saw them one-on-one. And I also have to mention his great skills as a photographer, especially a portrait photographer. So many of those mic covers of the 1980s were built studio sessions, and I think his familiarity with the wrestlers is what made them stand out. You know, he could say, you know, Dusty, can you move ahead a little bit? You know, can you give me this kind of look? Those were Bill's strengths. That's what he really had.
Shout out to the legend Bill Apter. Of course, there's no way we could talk about the history of PWI without mentioning him. It's interesting, though, because here we are now in the internet age. And when you started, that's when you started to see more computers and the internet in more homes. Of course, we had AOL and everything else blowing up. How has that affected the magazine business and specifically the wrestling magazine business for you guys?
What's interesting, the evolution. I started writing for PWI from home for a brief period before I got hired to the office staff. But then eventually, Bill decided it's best if I started writing from home again full-time, basically, because of the volume of material they needed. So I first started late 1996. I remember Stu telling me, well, Harry, do you have a modem? I said, no, I don't have a modem. You know, most households did not have a modem in 1996.
Not at all.
No, but I said, maybe if I get some money for Christmas, maybe I'll buy a modem. Things were so different back then. I had a modem, and I would write my stories and send them as a text file over the modem.
Wow. So was that like a style of email, basically? Was that like a style of email?
No, it was just they had a dedicated computer at the office where I would just send the text data on a single phone line, and they would go to the computer and retrieve it, and they would put it on a floppy disk and take it to their computer and edit it.
Wow.
How that worked. But back then, you see what was going to happen way in the future. I recall some kind of funny situations. We used to have a newsletter called PWI Weekly. Which did really well in the pre-internet. And these were just maybe, I forget, 5 or 6 pages. And you subscribe, and you would get this PWI Weekly issue every single week. And I remember Stu saying to me at one point, but I said, Stu, do you want to mention this website? No, I don't think we have to keep giving attention to the internet. Which I kind of think it's funny in retrospect. We thought, well, if we don't mention the website, then maybe people won't realize an internet is looming out there.
Good luck.
And I saw Hulk Hogan calling the office one day, talking to Bill. And Bill got off the phone. And he's always kind of like, tell you what Hogan had to say on the phone. And he said, well, Hulk just called, and he said he's not going to buy his kids a computer. He doesn't want Brooke or Nick to get on the internet because there's nothing but filthy stuff on there. Which I find that humorous, thinking back to everything that happened to Hogan and their reality show and all that drama. But what steadily happened, even though the internet was on the horizon, you know, people often think of our boom period as being the mid-1980s, which it probably was, or late 1980s.
That's wild. That's wild. What should we be on the lookout for in the upcoming months with PWI? Is there anything special coming out on newsstands there?
Well, the PWI 500, we're starting to work on. I'm sure that'll make waves on Twitter and the internet probably sometime in September, early September. Now, that's kind of the flip side of what we were just talking about. It's kind of come full circle where the internet helps us at times. You know, really, the 500 became a real phenomenon last year on the internet and on Twitter. And whenever we have special covers, like when we had Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks on the same cover, that really blew up on Twitter. So, you know, the 500 is the one we're working on right now. And I do want to give a plug to our next issue of July, which is the October issue. That'll be coming out maybe in about 3-4 weeks at the latest. We have a special section, Bruno Sammartino's greatest magazine covers.
Wow.
Stu, Sax, and I put that together, and it was a lot of fun. So his covers from the 60s, 70s, into the 80s with full write-ups on what's happening in Bruno's career at the time and what was going on with the magazines at the time. So fans of your show who appreciate the history of wrestling should really pick up the next PWI because we have that special section, The Legend Lives Forever, Bruno Sammartino's greatest magazine covers.
Wow. That'll be something else. I definitely can't wait to see that. And you know, shout out and God rest his soul to great Bruno Sammartino, a guy who legitimately held that WWF championship. At one point, was it 7 years straight there, Harry?
7 years and then held it for another 3.5.
Unbelievable. We'll never see that again. I mean, people complain about Brock Lesnar and his mini run right now. Please, Bruno was holding that title, but he was defending it too. He was at Madison Square Garden all the time.
Well, my boss, Stu, he made the case in his editorial that Raw should have done an 11-belt tribute to Bruno.
Yeah.
For each year that he was, I mean, that would have been very fitting.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Do you have anything that you want to plug there, Harry? The website?
I guess so. That's PWIonline.com. That's PWI-online.com. And you can always find out the latest issue and what's going on with PWI. At the end of every week, we update our ratings, so there's always a reason to visit.
That's cool. That's cool. Listen, Harry, you know, you guys over at PWI are such an important part of the childhood of myself and so many other fans. So we really thank you for all the hard work you and your colleagues have done. And it really feels good to know that PWI is still going strong, that I can still go to the local drugstore and pick up my PWI 500 and other special editions there. It's cool. You know, it's something important. And like I told you before, it's something that even the wrestlers of today, it still means something to them, which that's the ultimate honor right there too. So keep up the great work.
Yours too. And if you haven't read PWI in a while, I would do so because I think you'll find conserved the best of traditional wrestling values, at the same time modernizing our magazine. So it's a good blend of both. I think any fan will be satisfied.
Awesome. Harry Burkett, thank you very much for your time today.
All right, thank you. It's been a pleasure to speak with you,
This is Rudy Boy Gonzalez of the Texas Wrestling Academy, and you're listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.
I told you that I wanted to touch upon something pretty serious, and we'll just jump right into it. The man formerly known as Enzo Amore, now he likes to be called Real One, okay? He was on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast, and for the first time, he went into detail about the rape allegations that were against him. And he went through all the things all the emotions and the timeline of what happened when he found out, how Vince McMahon and the WWE responded to it, what he did after that, etc. and so forth. Listen, the fact of the matter is there wasn't enough evidence to move forward with anything against Enzo, so essentially the case is tabled, and if there's anything new that comes around, then of course it can be reopened, but for now, it's put on the shelf. That doesn't mean that he's guilty, but this is America, folks. And in America, you are innocent until proven guilty. Enzo Amore hasn't been proven to have raped that young lady, so for now, he's innocent. And it is what it is. And look, let me tell you, the problem with something like rape is that it's very difficult to prove. There's so many things that have to be perfect in order for a rape case to be prosecuted and someone to be found guilty. It's very, very difficult, and I get that. And you know, I've done some work where I've dealt with folks who have been survivors of sexual assault and what have you, so I have a pretty fair understanding of what's up here. But again, this is America. We have the Constitution. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty. And I cannot pretend like there aren't instances where there are people sitting in jail right now for crimes that they quite frankly did not commit. So in that spirit, I have to be careful with how I characterize this and just chalk it up to until this man is proven guilty, he's innocent. Simple as that. And I know that's going to upset some folks, and that's okay. All right? I take it a step further. I put up a poll on the Duke Loves Rasslin Facebook page. Folks, if you haven't, check it out. Please give me a like. Check out the Duke Loves Rasslin Facebook page. I'm putting up great stuff up there. And it's also a great way for you to get invited to Duke's Wrestling Crew. It's our exclusive Facebook group of some of our top listeners. Great way to interact with some fantastic wrestling fans, wrestlers, bookers. A lot of great folks in there. But anyway, I posed a question, which is really a poll. Is it okay to separate the wrestler from horrible acts they may have committed in life? And I use Chris Benoit as an example. I mean, here's a guy who murdered himself and his family, including children. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. How do we as fans reconcile that? And that's something that I got to be honest, folks. I struggle with that. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I was as big a Chris Benoit fan as anybody. And to this day, when I see a Chris Benoit match, I'm just like, damn, that dude was good. I mean, he was just amazing in the ring. But what a lowlife, what a piece of garbage to do what he did to his family. I mean, just, ugh. How do we reconcile that? I know a lot of folks, they feel the same way. You have your groups that will say, hey, you know, you shouldn't be cheering them on because they did X, Y, and Z, and that's supporting what they did. No, it's not. Cut the crap. No, it's not. Some people were saying that stuff about Enzo, too. If you support Enzo in any way, as far as being a wrestler or performer is concerned, then that means you're condoning his alleged rape. Give me a break. Don't break your arm, Stretch Armstrong, patting yourself on the back with that nonsense. That's a reach. Okay? If we were to pull back the curtain and take a look at everybody's closet, no one's clean. Everyone's done some unsavory things in life that we wish others never know about, and hopefully they never will. That's part of being human, man. And obviously killing people and rape and all this stealing or whatever, that's a little extreme, of course, but nonetheless, let's not pretend like we're not advanced beings on this planet, okay? I don't know about you, but I can walk, chew gum, and hum AJ Styles theme music all at the same time. All right? They don't want none, Jack. They don't want none. Listen, let me tell you something. When that song comes on, they don't want none. You can't tell me that doesn't want to make you get up and do something, okay? They don't want none. They don't want none. Are you kidding me? When that comes on, don't mess with me, Jack. I'm telling you right now, I'm getting a little antsy right now. Don't mess with me when that song comes on. I love that joint. Shout out to AJ Styles. Shout out to CFO, those crew that made that song. That song it bangs. Love it. Anyway, let's not act like we can't do more than one thing at a time. I can be outraged over the fact that Chris Benoit, the human being, took the life of his family. I can be disgusted, disgraced, and disappointed with that, while at the same time acknowledging that Chris Benoit, the pro wrestler, is a Hall of Famer. His career was that fantastic. His matches are that entertaining, and they stand up the test of time. I can do that. We're talking about a human being. We're advanced beings on this planet, in this galaxy, as far as we know at least. So for all you people out there trying to shame others for using their brain to separate the performer and their art from the human being who may, in fact, be a piece of trash, cut it out. Who are you? Who are you? You gonna tell me about me and what's in my heart? You gonna tell me how to live my life? Stop it. What are you talking about? And I know some folks are up in arms about the fact that Enzo Amore went on Austin's show because he had, the rape allegations. And here's Steve Austin, who has a very well documented history of domestic violence against multiple wives. I probably just pissed a bunch of people off by bringing that up. I don't care. Actually, you know what? I do care. I care that I pissed you off. And I care because I want you to tell me that I pissed you off. I'm okay with that. The Duke is okay with folks disagreeing with him. Okay, you can disagree with me all day long. I prefer that. I don't want people to yes man me all the way through. Tell me when you feel that I'm wrong. And I'll tell you that I feel that I'm right, and we can go at it. We can debate about that and hopefully learn something from each other. I'm okay with that. You're pissed off that I just pointed out the fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin has multiple domestic violence issues on his record. He's had to settle out of court. He's had previous wives write books about what he's done to them, do interviews about what he's done to them. Okay, so what? It's the truth. What do you want me to do about that? I'm not making that up. Well, why are you talking about that, Duke? Because it's the truth. What? So my point is, nonetheless, if I watch a previous WrestleMania and I see Stone Cold Steve Austin against The Rock, I'm watching that match. What are you talking about? Of course I'm watching that match. Stunning Steve Austin in a tag team match against Arn Anderson and Ric Flair. Stunning Steve and Beautiful Bobby or even Brian Pillman, what have you. I'm watching that match. Of course I am. I'm cheering against Austin because I love Ric Flair and Arn Anderson, but I'm watching that match. We're advanced beings on this planet, as far as we know. I got to put that aside in there because, I got a little sci-fi in me, folks. But we're advanced. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. So how dare any of you pull that crap about, what are we supposed to just never watch another match that Austin is in or that Benoit is in or that Jimmy Snuka is in because they've done some horrible things in life? I'm not going to do that. I'm a wrestling fan. I analyze wrestling. That's part of my job now. I analyze this stuff. I talk about it from a historical perspective. I compare what's going on today to what happened yesterday. That's what I do. I'm not going to stop because Chris Benoit lost his mind for whatever reason and killed his family. That's a terrible thing. And I'm going to point that out, and I'm always going to point that out. But I'm also going to point out the fact that was a damn good pro wrestler. And I can separate the two. And it's okay if you can't. But for you to try to impose the fact that because you can't, nobody else should be allowed to, sit down. Not interested. In fact, you know what? I am interested. Keep talking so I can tell you how much of a fool you sound like right now. Oh, wow. Duke, what are you doing? I'm telling it like it is. That's what I'm doing. What do I care? You got too many folks out here who are trying to act as if their fandom is greater than everybody else's fandom. The way that they consume product, the way that they view storylines, the way that they want to see how things go. And the majority of you don't even know what you're talking about. Because Vince McMahon will let you know who the next superstar is. You don't know what you're talking about. You claim you want a revolution. You want a women's revolution, and you're chanting boring during the women's match. I'm in the arenas. I see what you do. So you're not going to tell me that I can't watch a Chris Benoit match and talk about how fantastic of a wrestler he was. Yeah, I'll point out that he was a piece of garbage for killing his family. Jimmy Snuka, terrible person. Covering up to killing that poor woman, terrible. But you damn right I'm going to watch the Superfly jump off of a cage. Why wouldn't I? I grew up watching that. That's a part of my childhood. Smarten up, folks. And if you're a fan out there, don't let anybody else dictate to you your fandom. We've come a long way from those days where we had to be quiet about the fact that we were pro wrestling fans. It wasn't cool to be a pro wrestling fan. There was a time where literally people, you watch that fake stuff, they still do to this day, but there was a time where that was a real thing. Now everybody's a pro wrestling fan. We're not whispering about it anymore. We can say it out in the open. Hell, I had Peter Vesey. He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame for journalism. He came on my show and pointed out the fact that he was a pro wrestling fan growing up. And it's okay. And it's okay that you like people who did some unsavory things. Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, don't get me started. They weren't saints. They did some nasty, awful stuff. Okay. Put out some great music. And we could talk about both. We're adults. Give me a break. Folks, listen. I want you to head over to the Duke Loves Rasslin Facebook page. Head over to the Twitter, Duke Loves Rasslin. Let me know what you think, seriously. Okay, I'm going to keep the poll up for the next week. We're supposed to be advanced beings here. Can we separate the art from the human being? Is that possible? Can we do that? Or is our ability to multitask that terrible that we can't get past it? And look, if you got a condition, if you got something wrong with you where you just can't get, fine, whatever. I'm not going to mess with you. Fine. It is what it is. But let me tell you something. The way that I say fine and it is what it is, you're going to afford me that same respect. Okay? I'm not asking for it either. I'm telling you, you're going to afford me that same respect. Because damn it, when I see Chris Benoit going up against Eddie Guerrero, I'm watching the match and I'm cheering it on. And I'm going to say, that's a hell of a match. Period. That's right. Folks, next week, I got some great guests coming up. I'm going to keep it under my hat. I'm not going to tell you what's going on there, but it's going to be some good stuff there. Again, Facebook.com/Duke Loves Rasslin. Twitter, Duke Loves Rasslin. Head over to iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. Why don't you? YouTube, same deal. Come on. Tell a friend. WWE Raw is coming into town in Boston in a couple weeks. I can't wait. Got my tickets. I'm going to be front and center. Cheering on somebody, Jack. Hopefully my girl Sasha Banks. I hear Ronda Rousey's going to be in the arena. That's pretty cool. I love Alexa Bliss. She's awesome. All that good stuff. You already know. Come on, man. Be kind to each other. Be kind to yourselves. I'm going to have my good man, the Duke of Dorchester, Pete Doherty, take us home. Take it away, Pete. Bye-bye, everybody.
Hey, this is the Duke of Dorchester. The one, the only, the man of the hour. Yeah, can you handle that, baby? I want to tell you this. You've been listening to Duke Loves Wrestling.